Hello there, my name's Darrin Murphy. I am currently homeless and I have been up against stigma being homeless. I experience it every day. People look at me like I'm some kind of hardened mobster, which I'm not. I'm an able-bodied, good person, and we have actually done great. A month and a half ago, we were over in Central Park in a foot and a half of water. We were invisible for 5 months. The ministry would take a stroll through the park once a month, and they wouldn't even say hi to us or ask us how we were doing. People paid zero attention to us until we got flooded out of Central Park. So it took a tragedy. However, a lot of people have stepped up to the plate. North Park Association, Neighbourhood Association has helped greatly with funding through the Red Cross. Peers are here every day giving us hot drinks and food. Salvation Army comes by with the showers so we can have hot showers. And I'm very grateful for that because, like I said, a month and a half ago, we were in a leaky tent that was flooded in Central Park. Today, I am in a dry tent off the ground and access to services. Me and many people here are disabled people on disability, and we have had to spend the winter outside. There's no excuse for that. We live in a wealthy, B, industrialized country with resources abound. So there's not one excuse you can give me, and I've said this before and I'll say it again. There's not one excuse you can give me why we have had to live through such horrors. And I'm telling you, it hasn't been a fun ride. As you know, there have been many overdoses, people accessing dangerous drugs off the street. So decriminalizing and legalizing all drugs would be a huge step, such as Portugal has decriminalized all drugs, and they're much better off because they're not using dangerous drugs that have been brewed in bathtubs with dangerous chemicals. First, you have to start with educating the public, though, like around stigma and discrimination against people that use drugs. We're only as strong as the weakest link. So, how do we view the homeless? As criminals? Like, what's the stigma around that? How do we change how people think? I became homeless because I took in my partner, and my landlord was not happy with that and evicted us in the middle of a pandemic. My landlord kicked both of us out
When the eviction
Wow.
ban was lifted.
when the restrictions were lifted.
Where are you from?
Originally from Ontario. I'm a transplant like many of you.
And how long have you been in Victoria?
I've lived in Victoria since 1994. I have had housing. I actually lived under the umbrella of BC Housing. The agency is Greater Victoria Housing Society for 13 years without a bad comment about me. And it was because my partner needed housing and they kicked me out because of that reason. 13 years without a scratch on my record, okay? And out the door I went because of helping out someone in need of, and someone would have been homeless on the street, and now we both ended up. But I did what I had to do at the cost of, well, we paid with our health, I believe, because when you live outside, all you do is burn calories. So I eat all day long and I've lost 20 pounds. So it's been a bit of a rough ride. However, lots of people have stepped up to the plate. I'm not, I'm trying to point out the good and the bad.
And you guys
I'm trying to be objective here.
And you guys are still together.
And we're still together, which is pretty amazing. But we've had our, it's been a tough ride. Very tough ride. I've never been homeless before. First time in my entire life, and I just spent basically half a year in the worst part of the year outside, right? It's raining. We lived through a flood. Now it's, as you can see, there's snow. We got this blizzard. There's been gale force storms that basically almost blew many tents right down flat, and many tents
Snap poles in half.
snap poles in half.
So the mayor and the attorney general have set March 31st for a deadline to have the 200 people that are left in the parks inside.
Which is quite a bold statement, and I credit, I believe that they're not blowing smoke up her ass.
And just for
Pardon the
clarity,
language.
it's not housing, this is shelter.
Right. So Right. To be very clear, shelter and housing are two very different things.
So the
People are
arena-
not too stoked on the idea of moving into an arena with little I don't know.
pods,
Yeah. And yeah.
but it's like a shelter.
I mean, it's better, but I believe our privacy will be like zero if we move into there. So
And some people would say,
it's hard to get excited about moving into an arena.
and some people would say, we've lived through the winter,
Some would say,
and we don't want to live in a shelter.
Right.
We choose to live outside
Right.
for a variety of different reasons.
sure. And I wouldn't blame those people. Carry on.
So what happens to those people?
What happens to those people? That's a very good question.
Seven-
Because there's a
seven-
lot of people, and actually, when I stop and think about it, I'm not certain if I want to move into an arena. We're all going to be packed in there like sardines. It's a tough decision to make. However, it's going to be heated. We're going to have a roof over our head. But still, you have to think about your privacy, your lifestyle. What are you giving up for what?
If you could just daydream and have your life look like anything, no restrictions, what would it look like? What would you be doing?
Well, it probably looked like just how it looked before I got kicked out, because in all reality, I just lost everything. As I became homeless, there's a little more to the story, personally speaking, and I don't mind being subjective about. I relapsed on a certain drug that I have not touched for years, but it was just a way of dealing with what was happening. Because A, I'm homeless, and B, I basically walked away from my job. Like, I was a Teamster. I fought hard for that job. However, I walked away from it because all my powers and energy were consumed by just surviving. I could not hold that job and be homeless. I tried for a while, and it didn't. I couldn't do it because I wasn't sleeping properly at night. I wasn't getting the sleep. There's people going off like half the night. I wasn't getting my rest. I wasn't eating properly, and I lost my job. Teamster. Like I said, I fought hard for that job, and I lost it. But however, it's all about survival. So these are the costs. This is the price I've had to pay.
So your blue sky is to go back to way life was before you.
My
were
blue
evicted.
sky is my life before I was evicted, and I've lost everything. But however, something good. It's all a matter of perspective, and something better. As one door closes, another one opens. So I'm remaining optimistic, and I choose to remain in a blue sky. To have a positive outlook. I try hard to remain positive. I'm not perfect. I'm like everyone else. I lose my temper, and however, sometimes we're under challenging conditions. However, things are improving. So, as I said, it's about being objective and pointing out the inadequacies and the pluses and what's wrong with our society and why we treat the homeless or people on disability. Why are people on disability living in tents in the middle of the winter? There's no excuse for that. I'm sorry, you just can't give me one. No excuses.
Do you feel comfortable talking to me about your family life or what your childhood was like?
My childhood was rosy. I dream about my childhood because I grew up in the country. Ninth Concession, which is out in the country, southern Ontario. I don't know if you've heard of the band, but Rick Danko grew up a mile down the road from me. And I always bring that up because as a kid, I always dreamt that if Rick Danko, who grew up down the road from me, could become, famous and be in the band, and everyone's heard of the band, that inspired me and it made me think one day I'm going to be famous like him. When I was younger, I thought that way. I did. I mean, I cherish those days. The first 12 years of my life were they're carefree and innocent, and I with glory and with awe, like those days, it's irreplaceable. I'm thankful that I didn't grow up in the city. Thank God bless Victoria, because it's given me everything that I have today. However, I'm thankful for my upbringing. My parents, loving, not perfect, but my dad, the hardest working man I've ever known. He held 2 jobs at once. Basically, he worked at Massey Ferguson for like 22 years before Conrad Black shut her down, stole all the pension money, and he sold cars. My dad was a used car salesman. He had a car lot. in Simcoe, which is just outside of where I grew up. So my dad, God bless the guy. He's the hardest working man. You know, I didn't see my dad around a lot when I was younger. Why? Because he was working his ass off to raise 4 children. God bless the man, my family. I spoke to my family this morning because I missed my mom's birthday a few days back. It's the first time I have not called my mom on her birthday because of the situation here with all the snow, and I was just caught up. I knew it was her birthday, but however, long story short, I talked to my family this morning and they're happy that I'm in a better situation because they're pretty concerned about that when they seen the video, right? It was pretty telling. They were happy to hear from me because I sound healthy and I was in positive spirits. And thanks to you and Tina, like I said, I wouldn't be sitting here right now. I would not be here in better health. Okay, I'm eating better. I have better shelter. So it's not, it's not all, it's pointing out the good and the bad. But there's still a lot of education that needs to be done in our community because the stigma and discrimination is still alive. It's well alive, and people need to be educated on people that use drugs because it has to be done. We're still marginalized. Drug users are marginalized. They're accessing dangerous drugs. They're overdosing. There's so much that needs to be addressed.
Just in one sentence, what would you want to tell people out there?
Be humane and treat everybody as if they were your daughter or son. Because we are people just like you. Just like you. We are people. We have families. We've made a few wrong choices in our life, but personally, I own up to them, and I'm just trying to do the best I can. And thankful for everything that, is provided to me, and I'm just trying to, be a better person in my community, which is North Park here. Just trying to put my best foot forward.
Thank you, Darrin.
No more excuses, Canada.
Thank you, Darrin.
And I do love the country I live in. I do. I feel blessed to live in this country.
Well,
one of the best countries on the planet.
We're going to keep working towards change, yo.
Paul 13, failure is not an option.
Thank you.
Tea time in 10, 9, 8.